the stakes to make a world in which all of God's children can live or to go into the dark. We must either love each other or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
I spent many years as a nuclear missile launch officer. If the president gave the order we had to launch the missiles, that would be it. I prayed that call would never come. Self-control may be all that keeps these missiles from firing.
I would bomb the out of them.
I want to be unpredictable.
I love war.
The thought of Donald Trump with nuclear weapons scares me to death. It should scare everyone.
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
One nuclear bomb can kill 1 million people. That's more than all the men, women, and children living in Columbus, Ohio.
They're hearing a guy running for president of the United States talking of maybe using nuclear weapons. Nobody wants to hear that about an American president.
Why are we making them? Why do we make them? Why do we make them? Why do we make them?
52nd Street Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. And you can tell them to go themselves.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
When Mexico sends its people, they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
You know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
You gotta see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember.
Our children and grandchildren will look back at this time, at the choices we are about to make, the goals we will strive for, the principles we will live by, and we need to make sure that they can be proud of us. I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
How many of you are preparing to vote in your first presidential election? Okay. You picked quite an election for your first. Commenting on this 2016 campaign, Michelle Obama observed, "This isn't normal. The good news is it's almost over. Nasty women and bad hombres are facing off against baskets of deplorables. A Miss Universe, a Gold Star family, an ex-president and his baggage, a POW senator, an FBI director, even the Pope have been drawn into the fray. Campaign rhetoric has been so raunchy that middle school teachers have had to censor their lesson plans. It started early. 17 months ago, just minutes into the speech announcing its candidacy, Donald Trump was talking about building a wall to keep out Mexican rapists and criminals. Soon, little Marco Rubio was mocking Trump's small hands. Trump replied by reassuring a national audience that he had no shortcomings elsewhere. Jeb Bush claimed that you can't become president by insulting people. We'll see. Trump channeled the anger of many Americans fed up with establishment politics. On the left, Bernie Sanders, a grumpy socialist, stirred passions with his talk of a political revolution. Hillary Clinton struggled to explain her use of a private email server and her careless handling of sensitive information. Immediately after claiming the Republican nomination, Trump picked a fight with an American Muslim family whose son was killed while serving in Iraq. He questioned the fairness of an American-born judge because of his Mexican heritage. He flippantly wondered what gun rights advocates might do if Clinton's Secret Service agents weren't armed. Then came the three train wreck debates. There was the Access Hollywood video, Trump boasting about groping women. He waved off his comments as mere locker room banter and said he'd never really done what he claimed in the video. Had insulted LeBron James, noted that nobody ever talked like that in his locker room. A parade of women came forward to accuse Trump of making unwanted sexual advances. He called them liars and said they weren't attractive enough to grope anyway. He threatened to put his opponent in jail if he won. He refused to commit to accepting the results of the election if he lost. Less than half of the voters had a favorable opinion of Hillary Clinton. Even fewer were impressed with Trump. No matter who wins, it's fair to say that the next president will be one of the most unpopular ever. I just read a new article entitled Twitter Taunts and Tirades, Negative Campaigning in the Age of Trump. Now, Twitter is a free platform. Candidates face no resource restrictions when using it. The 140-character limits lets candidates issue sound bites ready for distribution through conventional media outlets. Unsurprisingly, the authors found that Donald Trump sends and receives the most negative tweets, and he's more likely than his opponents to strike out against even those opponents who are polling poorly. Other candidates overwhelmingly punch upwards against those who are ahead of them in the polls. Not Trump. He's the exception. He punches in every direction. Now, how did this happen? 17 Republican candidates and Donald Trump is the nominee. And the Democrats almost nominated a socialist. I got tired of people asking me that question and answering, I don't know. And I've been trying to figure it out. Here's what I have so far. We have two candidates with extremely high unfavorables. Each would be very beatable, if not for the fact that they're running against each other. The stage was set for an outsider candidate like Trump or Sanders, but why? Well, I'm calling this chaos theory, political science version of chaos theory. Voters look at Washington and they see chaos, and they're not wrong. The political system's capacity for self-organization has weakened. Political parties, career politicians, establishment insiders formerly used political perks and endorsements to bring order to the chaos. They brokered deals and compromises. They cooperated to make the system work. They got things done. But we reformed away their powers to make the system more open and democratic. But without closed committee meetings, without back rooms, grandstanding politicians tear apart compromises. Progressives on the left, Tea Party activists on the right, enacted reforms that weakened the establishment middlemen, the professional intermediaries. Tea Party activists were angry fiscal conservatives who targeted Republicans who did compromise. They were purists who beat incumbents in primaries. Those who compromised with the opposition party ran the risk of being primaried out of office. Consequently, incumbents compromised less. They worked across party lines less and less, reducing gridlock, mounting frustration with Washington. A circle of frustration continues. People want change. They elect outsiders who promise to shake things up. These outsiders come in and they decline to compromise. Little is accomplished. Frustration mounts. What do we do now? I know. Let's elect more outsiders. And on it goes. Trump is formidable. The polls are all over the place. He can win, especially if moderate Republicans, independents, and disaffected Bernie or Bush supporters stay home or vote for a third-party candidate because they just can't bring themselves to vote for Hillary Clinton. Well, he stopped saying reckless things that scare allies. He's 70 years old. He's having success. Why would he change? And his supporters will keep supporting him no matter what. Another reason he can win is that his opponent is Hillary Clinton. She has a lot of experience and she has a lot of baggage. She lacks warmth, charisma, likability. Her penchant for secrecy causes her endless problems. Many voters distrust her and question her honesty. Her long record of public service means that she has a long record to defend. All these things make her vulnerable. Will anti-Trump voters be willing to settle for Hillary, or will they just stay home? She can lose. Now consider, the Atlantic was founded back in 1857. The Atlantic has, and it was committed to the abolition of slavery. In its entire 159-year history, the Atlantic has endorsed just 3 presidential candidates. First was Abraham Lincoln. Second was Lyndon Johnson in 1964 against Barry Goldwater. Incidentally, of Goldwater, The Atlantic said this, quote, "We think it unfortunate that Barry Goldwater takes criticism as a personal affront. We think it poisonous when his anger betrays him into denouncing what he calls the radical press. We sincerely distrust his capacity for judgment." And now The Atlantic has endorsed its third presidential candidate, Hillary Clinton. They acknowledge her flaws. They are not so much impressed with her as they are concerned with Donald Trump, who in their words, these are the words of The Atlantic, in their words, quote, "He might be the most ostentatiously unqualified major party candidate in the 227-year history of the American presidency. He traffics in conspiracy theories and racist invective. He is appallingly sexist. He is erratic, secretive, and xenophobic. He expresses admiration for authoritarian rulers. He is easily goaded, a poor quality for someone seeking control of America's nuclear arsenal. He is an enemy of fact-based discourse. He is ignorant of and indifferent to the Constitution. He appears not to read." Well, after beginning with all of these compliments, then The Atlantic got really negative. Continuing, they said, quote, "Trump is not a man of ideas. He is a demagogue, a sexist, a know-nothing, and a liar. He is spectacularly unfit for office." Wow. It's probably a good thing he doesn't read, or at least doesn't read The Atlantic. This isn't normal, right? This can't be normal. We've never seen anything like this, right? Well, maybe a few times if we go back. Consider this one. The candidate is a white male who's been accused of keeping a black mistress, fathering several children by her. The opposition has attacked him as a fanatic, a revolutionary, a coward, and a howling atheist. The opposition has predicted if this man's elected, God's vengeance will be visited on the country. We will see dwellings in flames, female chastity violated, and children writhing on the pike. The target of these charges, Thomas Jefferson. In 1828, Andrew Jackson opposed the incumbent John Quincy Adams. Now, Adams represented the old seaboard colonial elite, the establishment. Jackson was a rough son of the frontier, slayer of British soldiers, scalper of Indians. Adams supporters portrayed Jackson as a frontier ruffian, a dueler, a brawler, a gambler, a hard drinker, and adulterer. Now, the only problem for Adams supporters, they miscalculated badly. The kind of man they were describing was the kind of man many voters in the South and the West admired greatly. The image turned out to be a positive, not a negative. If you wanted the vote of the common man, you had to give them Jackson types wherever available. You had to give them the kind of man who just might shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. Fear, even more than smear, has always been the greatest resource of the negative campaigners. Fear campaigns are memorable. The best-known scare tactic spot was probably the Daisy Girl ad with which I began. The ad aired only once. It set the media buzzing for days. It was rebroadcast without charge, frequently on newscasts as a legitimate news item. It depicted Goldwater as an irresponsible, trigger-happy nuclear cowboy. You saw that ad, and you saw the 2016 ads. You detect the trend in the advertising. There's so much more to say. I plan to define negative campaigning, to describe some of the scholarly literature concerning its impact, why candidates use it. I was going to distinguish legitimate from illegitimate ads. I was going to discuss what candidates should do when confronted with attacks. Michelle Obama's advice, when they go low, we go high. Sounds good, nice place to start, but you have to do more than that. I'll settle for offering you a list of links that you can examine on your own. If you're interested, I have a bunch of handouts here. Pick them up later on. In closing, in 1776, John Adams expressed fears that the Continental Congress's decisions would be dictated, quote, by noise, not sense, by meanness, not braveness, by ignorance, not learning, by contracted hearts, not large souls. There must be decency and respect and veneration for persons of authority, or we are undone. 2016 campaign. Would you say it's been one marked by decency, respect, and veneration. All I ask of you is on Tuesday, vote. The stakes are too high for you to stay home. Thank you.